Hi, Hajimasu. What's up, guys? My name is Asian Psycho, and this is going to be the 38th chapter in the Exploring the Arsenal series playlist featuring me, Asian Psycho, aka Toast number 98. And in this episode, or in this family of reviews, we're going to be introducing the ACR assault rifle family. The ACR has been introduced a little bit late into the combat arms field, but still it is a pretty prominent assault rifle. It's definitely not the most popular assault rifle out there, but it is definitely pretty widely used, and it really reminds me of the M4A1. At least the GP standard variant, the ACR, just a regular ACR, does remind me a lot of the M4A1. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the ACR assault rifle. Now, the ACR does cost 950 GP a day, even though it doesn't really have its own pre-attached scope. Like previously, like we've seen, like the 950 GP costing assault rifles had their own pre-attached scope, like the 80GA1 and the G36E. However, the ACR does cost 950 GP by itself, so it might be on the pricier side for those of you guys who are kind of low on the GP aspect. So yeah, and it is unlocked at Staff Sergeant 3. So let's move on to the cold hard statistics, the nitty gritty of the ACR. The ACR boasts a 38 damage, so the statistics also look a lot similar to the M4A1s. The damage is identical to the M4A1s at 38. The portability, I believe, is a little bit increased over the original M4A1 at 62. Maybe it's the same. I am not too sure, but it sounds about around a portability statistic of the M4A1 as well. So there you have it. The rate of fire is also the same compared to the M4A1 at 74, so, and also the accuracy is also the same at 80, and the recoil is about where the ACR is about where the M4A1 stands at 62. I believe the M4A1 had like 60 recoil, if I'm not mistaken. It's been some time since I've done the M4A1 review. Obviously, that's the very first review that I've ever done for this playlist, so it's been some time since I last remembered the stats for the M4A1 off the top of my head. But the ACR, as you can plainly see just by looking at its statistics, is extremely similar to M4A1. I mean, just off the bat, I can tell you it's got the same damage, it's got the same rate of fire, and it's got the same accuracy. Those three statistics are very big. I mean, the damage and the rate of fire being the more important of the two. And I'm not too sure about if the recoil is also identical to the M4A1s, but I believe the ACR's recoil is a little bit higher than the M4A1s, because I do believe that the M4A1 did have 60 recoil instead of 62. If I am mistaken, then please correct me. But I believe I'm pretty sure the M4A1 had 60 recoil, or if it didn't have 60 recoil, it definitely had lower recoil than the ACR did, or the ACR does rather. English learned. Anyways, so moving on to the non-statistical aspects of the ACR. However, before we move on to those, I'd like to cover one more aspect of damage: the damage drop-off. The damage drop-off on the ACR is very good for a weapon. However, I do believe that the M4A1's damage drop-off, like its damage over range, is still better than the ACR's. In my experience, the ACR had some difficulty with not too much, but it did have a little bit of difficulty finishing people off at long range. Close range to medium range, it wasn't really much of a problem, but at long range, and when I was trying to tap fire people down, it sometimes took more bullets than I had expected to from the ACR, so you might want to be careful of that. Alright, so moving on to the non-statistical aspects of the ACR, the tap fire ability on the ACR. So here's the thing about the tap fire ability on the ACR. You're seeing gameplay of me using a fully customized ACR. Oh, one thing about the ACR is that Nexon did release the ACR for permanent GP purchase for 100,000 GP at one point, sometime like many months ago. I don't know when it was, but I managed to buy it, the ACR for permanent, and when the ACR was made customizable, I managed to customize my ACR for obvious, because I bought the ACR for perm. I customized it for perm as well, and I customized it completely to full. So obviously, as you guys can see from the gameplay videos, if you look on the lower right hand corner, you'll see that all customization parts have been customized. So, but I do remember using like just a naked normal ACR, and the ACR without any customizations, the tapfire ability is very similar to the M4A1's, but the recoil kickback is a little bit higher, but you can definitely tapfire very quickly with the ACR. Almost as fast as the M4A1, but not quite, but it's still very good in tapfire. However, once you customize the ACR, I don't know if I should be talking about the customizations now, but I feel like it's just appropriate because I am talking about the tapfire ability. But anyways, the tapfire ability on the ACR, once you customize it, especially its recoil or its barrel, because the barrel customization is what affects its accuracy and its recoil, it's pretty much screwed up. It's not really fucked up completely, but how it screws up is that the recoil kickback in scope while you're tap firing, each shot bounces up much higher than your shots on your ACR if you didn't customize the accuracy aspect. It is more accurate, don't get me wrong, it does help out its accuracy just by a little bit, but you can definitely notice it, but it's not worth the effect that it has, the negative effects that it has on the ACR's tapfire ability. Not only does the kickbacks for each shot while you're scoped in, through your ACOG or your ITEX or whatever you're using for your sight, not only do the kickback of your shots bounce higher, but it's much easier to over tapfire with the ACR. That's one of the main disadvantages that the ACR has. If you do customize it, you'll notice immediately that the tapfire ability on the ACR has been screwed up. It's pretty much been ruined. I mean, you can still do it, but you can't do it as fast. Yes, that's what she said. You can't tapfire as fast as you can with the normal ACR if you do customize the barrel of the ACR, because that's what affects its recoil pattern. Sorry about that. So yeah, I wouldn't really recommend customizing the barrel because it does screw up the tapfire ability on the ACR. So I had to learn it the hard way. So those of you guys who do have the ACR, you're planning to buy the ACR for an extended duration, like 7 days or more, then do not customize the barrel if you are thinking of doing so, because you are going to sacrifice your tapfire ability and your long range, and hence your long range capabilities with the ACR for just a little bit of accuracy, and obviously that's not worth it. Moving on to the sprint drawback. The sprint drawback is very fast on the ACR. At least its sprinting animation and the draw animation anyway. Because the sprint animation on the ACR is all your character does is just put it. It just like puts it on the side, like it just tilts it. Like it has the exact same sprint animation as does the parafoul, the parafoul and extended assault rifle. So there you have it. It's very fast, and you may think it's inclined for CQC duties, but it's really not. So even though it does have a faster drawback than do most other assault rifles, don't be fooled. Try not to get caught with your pants down at close range. So wow, that sounds really dirty. Anyways, just don't do it. Just be careful. Anyways, moving on to the draw speed. The draw speed on the ACR is moderate. I mean, it is pretty much the same as it takes the same amount of time to pull out of your backpack as does, like, for example, an M4A1, so nothing too special there. Moving on to the center speed. The center speed on the ACR is, I believe, a little bit slower than the M4A1's. I can't be too sure on this because I don't really pay attention to the center speeds, because, I mean, I always fight at close quarters combat. I don't really have time to pay attention to the center speeds on the ACR. But the ACR center speed is either moderate or slower than average. So that might not be the best point about the ACR. So do be wary of that. Now moving on to the reload speed. The reload speed is technically on the faster side of things, because the animation itself is very smooth and it's not hectic at all. The ACR, all you need to do to reload the ACR, what your character does is just simply pop out the magazine and just pop another one back in. That's all it does. If you didn't have an extended magazine on it or any magazine modifications on it, then the reload speed is indeed very fast. But however, because I do have an extended mag 1 in these gameplays, if you put an extended mag on the ACR, it does slow down its reload speed significantly. Like, you can tell. Like for the M4A1, you couldn't really tell that much. I mean, if you paid attention, you could tell that the extended mags on the M4A1, as long as you weren't using an extended mag 2, were a little bit slower, but they weren't that much slower. But on the ACR, if you put an extended mag 1 on it, you can definitely tell the difference between the reload speeds. So do be careful of that as well. Moving on to its luck. The luck is surprisingly high on the ACR. It could be because I altered the recoil pattern by customizing its barrel, but I do believe that the ACR does have quite a high kind of lotto percentage. I mean, in my opinion anyway, it nets me a quite more than my fair share of headshots, like just random lucky headshots. So I believe that is pertinent throughout the rest of the ACR family. So there you have it. Moving on to the ammo capacity. The ammo capacity is standard at 30 rounds of magazine and 90 in reserve, so nothing too special there. Moving on to the key physical characteristics. Anyways, the key physical characteristics on the ACR. I believe its buttstock. Its buttstock is extremely reminiscent of the Scar L family. Most notably, its Scar H. I mean, just the ACR's profile on the ACR profile picture, it just looks like a Scar H. Like by its profile, like its silhouette, like the gun silhouettes on your profile on the kill feed in game, it may not obviously. You can tell the difference between the Scar H and the ACR, but just by looking at them in the Common Arms Arsenal page, I almost confused it when it was first released for the Scar H. The only reasons why I could tell that it wasn't the Scar H was because of the fact that its magazine looked a little bit different and the muzzle wasn't that long. So the key physical characteristics on the ACR, basically it looks like a very tan rifle. It looks like the Scar L, basically the MK16 Scar L and the Scar H, because they both have pretty much the same skin tone. But there you go. It does look a little bit similar to Scar L, but it is not by any means the Scar L itself. Moving on to the muzzle noise. The muzzle noise on the ACR is identical to the M4A1's. However, I believe the ACR, the GP standard ACR variant, is the only variant to have this muzzle noise. I believe the ACR Sandfire and the ACR Black Snake have different muzzle noises, but for the ACR, it sounds exactly the same as the M4A1. Moving on to the attachment options. The attachment options on the ACR are all available. So there you have it. Moving on to the moving on to the whether or not it's fire team worthy. Well, I mean it is an assault rifle. So there you have it. Most assault rifles are pretty good for fire teams. So there you have it. Quarantine worthy. Not really, because assault rifles aren't really meant for quarantine. So there you have it. And for customizations, like I mentioned, you are able to customize the ACR fully. Barrel, piston, and barrel, piston. What was the last one? And trigger. Yeah, trigger. They can all be customized to its max. So there you have it. The damage customization does help a little bit. It's definitely noticeable. And the rate of fire customization doesn't really help too much. Like I couldn't notice the difference between two, like the normal ACR and the customized ACR in terms of rate of fire. But once again, I've already covered how the accuracy customization screws up the ACR's tap-fire ability. So, if anything, you should get the damage and the rate of fire customization and just ignore the barrel completely, the one that changes your accuracy and your recoil. Moving on to my frank personal opinions of the ACR. The ACR is a solid assault rifle. However, I honestly feel that the M4A1 is much better. And besides that, the M4A1 is also able to be fully customized as well. So the M4A1 does have a little bit of an edge over the ACR in my honest opinion, and besides that, it costs less too. I mean, there are people who do prefer the ACR over the M4A1, but me personally, I'll stick to my trusty M4A1, just because of its lower recoil. The ACR does have noticeably higher recoil than the M4A1, not by much, but it's still there, and I kind of like my lower recoil on my M4A1 a little bit better, so yeah. But it is by no means an inferior rifle. It's just that I prefer having the M4A1. But the M4A1 and the ACR are very, very similar, extremely similar in fact in statistics. So there almost is no difference between the two. If you really wanted to think about it on a general level, it's just which one you prefer, the ACR or the M4A1. So I prefer the ACR, or not the ACR. I prefer the M4A1 myself, personally speaking. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. This will conclude the ACR review. And in the next episode, we're going to be covering the NX standard variant of the ACR, the NX ACR Sandfire. So hope you guys have enjoyed this review on the ACR assault rifle. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Yukurishite ne.
Round start.
Thank you.
No way!
Team.
Round start. Round start. Round start. Round start.